everybody. This is Gomer Pyle, and this geometry lesson is on parallel lines with transversals. But first, let's do a lesson from right before the parallel lines, just transversals here. So angles formed by transversals. So that's what this board problem is. So right here, angles 5 and angle 7, we got to identify those. So 5 and 7. These guys are called corresponding angles. They're on both sides, on the same side of this transversal right here. Okay, and one's inside these other two lines and one's outside. Okay, see how 7's inside these other two lines and 5 is outside? Those guys are called corresponding angles. Okay, let's look at 3 and 6. 3 and 6, here's 3, here's 6. They're both inside and they're alternating. One's on one side of the transversal, one's on the other, so those are called alternate interior angles. Okay, so let's see. Got corresponding, got alternate interior angles. Okay, numbers 1 and 8. Let's see, 1's over here. Where's 8? 8's over here. Okay, they're on alternate of the transversals. One's on this side, one's on this side. And they're outside these two other lines right here. So outside means exterior, so they would be alternate exterior angles. Okay, 7 and 8. Okay, where's 7? 7's right here, 7 and 8's right here. Okay, these guys form a straight line. 7 and 8 make up what's called a linear pair. Okay, linear pair. All right, and I call them LPs. All right, 11 and 16. All right, these guys are vertical angles. 11 and 16 are vertical angles. All right. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to get rid of that right there. Okay, let's see, and we're going to be having a compass in class. We're going to be needing some compass and straight edges. We're going to be doing constructions, but not with this lesson. Okay, so here's using parallel lines with transversals. Okay, and they start off with this. If parallel lines are cut by transversal, then, okay, here's parallel lines. See, I have the parallel lines with the red arrows. That's why this is red. And the lines are blue. So here's my lines, and these are my parallel lines cut by this purple transversal right here. If that happens, then corresponding angles are equal. So there's 4 pairs of corresponding angles. Remember, one has to be outside, one has to be inside, and they're on the same side of the transversal. So like 1 and 5 would be congruent. 4 and 8 would be congruent over here, 2 and 6, and then 3 and 7. Those are all congruent angles, and you'd write them like this, you guys. Okay, angle 1 is congruent to angle 5, angle 2 is congruent to angle 6, 4 is congruent to 8, and finally 3 is congruent to 7. Okay, corresponding angles are equal. Okay, again, and the next postulate or theorem starts off with the same thing. If parallel lines are cut by a transversal, then alternate interior angles are congruent. Okay, so like 4 and 6, see how they're alternating on the transversal and they're both inside? Alternate interiors. So 3 and 5 would also be. So it would be 4 congruent to 6 and angle 3 congruent to angle 5. Okay, here's that same picture right there. Alternate exterior angles are congruent. So like 1 and 7, they're outside and they're alternating. So 1 and 7 and 2 and 8 would be alternate exterior angles, and they're congruent. And then this one here, they're called consecutive interior angles, and consecutive interior angles, this means supplementary, okay, which means 180. So consecutive interior angles are like 5 and 4. They're both inside and on the same side. 3 and 6 are both inside and on the same side. So they are supplementary. So 4 and 5 would be 180, and then 3 and 6 would also be 180. All right, so the trick is this, you guys. If they look like they're congruent, then they are congruent. If they don't look congruent, then they're supplementary. Okay, so like 1 and 6, this looks like an acute angle, angle 6, and angle 1 looks like it's an obtuse angle, so they can't be congruent, so they must be supplementary. Okay, same with 4 and 1. One's an acute angle, one's an obtuse angle, so they must be supplementary. 4 and 2, they're both acute angles. They look like they're congruent, and they are. Okay, 4 and 6 are congruent. 5 and 1 are congruent, and so on. So they're either congruent or supplementary. Okay, so let's find the values of x and y. Here's number 1. Okay, first thing I'm going to do is look at that straight line right there. Straight lines always equal 180, so that those two angles up here make the straight line. 115 plus y equals 180. So subtract out 115, you get 65. All right, and then I'm going to look at those two angles, those two blue angles. These guys are corresponding angles, so y equals x plus 5. All right, or x plus 5 equals y, and then don't forget y equals 65, so now I'm going to subtract 5 and you get x equals 60. Okay, subtract 5, get x equals 60. Okay, here's another one. Okay, what I'm going to do is look at those corresponding angles right there. Those corresponding angles, these guys are equal to each other. So x minus 30 equals 135. Add 30 to both sides, so x is 165. Then I'm going to look at these vertical angles right here. Oops, no I'm not. I'm going to look at these alternate exterior angles right here. These alternate exterior angles are congruent, so y plus 5 equals 135. Okay, so y equals 130. Whoops, this should be 130 right there. Let me switch that. All right, right there. That should be 130 because I subtracted 5 on both sides. And there's other ways to do these. On these geometry ones, there's probably 4 correct ways, maybe more, to do these ones. So if I'm not doing it the same way you are, but you're getting the same correct answers, you're doing it right. There's all kinds of answers. Okay, here's another one. Okay, on this one, you guys, you got parallel lines. So there's my parallel lines. I'm going to look at those congruent corresponding angles. So y equals 85. And to get x, I'm going to look at those alternate interior angles. So x equals 45. Now I know I'm going fast, but you guys can pause this anytime you want, you guys. Okay, here's number 4. Okay, on this one, I'm going to look at those. Those are called consecutive consecutive interior angles, and they are supplementary right there. Okay, so they make equal 180. So add them up to equal 180. So you get 9y equals 180, y equals 20. And do the same thing down here for these guys down here. These guys are consecutive interior angles. That's the name of them. In our book, we used to have another book that called them same-sided interior angles, and I actually like that name better because they're on the same side of the transversal and they're inside the other two lines. But my book calls them consecutive interior angles, but they're supplementary, okay? So on that one, you get x equals 45. Okay, here's another figure right here. Okay, on this one, I'm going to look at that triangle first. Triangles add up to 180, you guys. So this angle right here, this angle right here, plus this angle right here, plus this angle equals 180, okay? And you solve for y, add them all up, combine like terms, and you get y equals 12. All right, to get that x, I'm going to look at those alternate interior angles right there. They're equal to each other, so x equals 13. Okay, here's another one right here. Okay, picture looks confusing, but if you just look at those parallel lines, give me corresponding angles. They're equal, so x must be 20. And to get those other angles, those are consecutive interior angles again, so those guys add up to 180. Okay, so 5y minus 5 plus the 135 equals 180. And then you're going to take solve for y. So here I combine like terms. Minus 5 plus 135 is plus 130. Then I subtracted 130 from both sides, and I got 50. And then 5 goes into 50 10 times. Okay. Okay, here's another one. Picture looks confusing, doesn't it? All right, what I'm going to do first on this, you guys, is get x with these two guys right here. And I'm going to get x by doing the consecutive interior angle trick. They're supplementary to each other. All right, so you get x equals 19. Now, since x equals 19, I'm going to plug it, I'm sorry, since x equals 10, sorry, 19x equals 190, and 19 goes into that 10 times. And then since x equals 10, I'm going to plug in 10 right there to get this angle measure right there. So watch this, you guys. When I plug in 10 into 14 times x minus 10, I get 130. Well, this angle and this angle are vertical angles. So if this angle is 130, so is this angle. This angle is 130 also. And I'm going to use this 130 to get the angle with that 2y. Look, these guys are now consecutive interior angles, the 2y plus 130. So that's what this is right here. All right, so subtract 130, you get 50, and then 2 goes into 50 25 times. Okay, let's see, this one, I think this is the last one. What I'm going to do first is look at that vertical angle right there. You're going to see y in just a second right there. Even though it's not asking for that, I'm going to show you how this helps. Now again, there's probably 3 or 4 correct ways to get x and y. I'm just, whatever comes up to my, and if you can get the right answer a different way, terrific, you did it right. And I do it different ways, different times. Okay, I'm going to look at those parallel lines and those corresponding angles right there. So x is going to be 65 right there. Okay, and then I'm going to look at this straight line right there. See that straight line, this blue guy right here? Well, this angle plus this 55 right here plus this angle over here, all 3 of these make up the straight line. And straight lines are always 180. So 65 plus 55 plus that y equals 180. So when you solve for y, you end up getting y equals 20.